My body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya.
Hi, my name is Emily Woodamara, and I'm a one and two-year-old woman from Groote Eylandt and Bickerton Island in the Gulf of Carpentaria. I am a singer, songwriter, producer, composer, and soon-to-be author, and I now live on Lutruwita, Tawana, aka Tasmania.
My name's Dixie Crawford. I'm a Barkindji woman from Broken Hill in Brewarrina in far western New South Wales, and I live and work on Ngunnawal country. I am a business owner and Aboriginal engagement consultant, and I get to work with organisations on reconciliation action plans. So I have spent a lot of time over the last couple of years, really defining my value and my worth, but also based upon my experience, my professional knowledge, my education experience, but also how much the problem will cost my clients if I don't do the best job possible. And the best job possible takes time, it takes energy, it takes a lot of thought and consideration. So I spend a lot of time looking at my own skills and competency, but I then also do the whole super tax situation, operations costs. It's a whole formula that I think you need to apply when you're deciding what your hourly rate is, whether or not you want to work on an hourly rate, whether or not you want to work on a project basis, whether or not you want to work on a retainer. There's lots of different models that you have. And so what I will say to you is do not charge people based upon your intuition.
So the way I determine my worth as an artist, as a creator in the industry, because not only do I do gigs, I do workshops, I do keys lessons, I do guitar lessons, I do a range of creative work. It's purely based on my talent and experience.
Yeah.
So, I have fixed rates when I play with a band, because you've got to take into account accommodation, you've got to take into account, you're paying, you've got to give per diems so people can eat, so people can travel, transport, Ubers, which are ridiculously expensive when they add up. There's a lot of things that you have to take into account when you're doing an actual budget, because when you get paid as an artist, you get, if you're with a booking agent, so I'm with a booking agent, and they'll take their fee, which is 10%. That's usually what a booking agent charges. If they're charging over that, it's a bit dodge. Don't reconsider, look at your options. So the 10%, and then, if you have a management, they can charge up to 20%. So that's 30% of my income already gone. And then on top of that, I've got to pay my band members. I've got to pay my tour managers. I've got to pay their per diems, their food allowance, anything for however long the trip is. So it's really hard, because I used to do gigs when I first started out in music. I've been performing from when I was 7 to now, and I've toured with artists from all around the world and around the world. And it works differently, it works differently in different continents and different states, and how the charges and the I don't know, how people pay you as well is really, it's not cash in hand like it used to be.
Yeah.
It's proper transaction. So everything, you've got to take into account GST. When I got started into music, no one told me put 10% GST aside every time you get paid and put it into another bank, because that money's gone back. No one told me that. So, by the time I did my first taxes, which was 2-3 years ago, and I did 7-8 years worth of tax, and that was in one hit, and that was overly stimulating and so stressful. But I am so grateful and so glad I did it and got it out of the way, because you have to make these decisions as well when you're determining your worth, because everything's on paper.
Yeah.
And so if I say to one person, I'll play with a band for 10K, sure. And then the other person, they go, oh, you played for this festival for 10K, so you can play for my festival for 7 or 8K. And it's doesn't work like that, bro. It's a fixed rate. 10, 15, 20K, whatever, that's a fixed rate.
Yeah.
And I think, we get so undervalued as artists as well, because we're seen as the entertainment. But we do so much more.
They're nice to have.
Yeah, we do so much more than that. Like, we're literally changing people's lives with our music. Mm-hmm. And if that isn't worth what if that isn't worth it, then honestly get...
Yeah. Yeah.
If people are not going to pay you what you're worth, and my worth is like determined on my talent, my wisdom, my experience in the industry, then they don't deserve to work with you.
Yeah.
They don't need to associate with you, and you don't need to have that association. And it is hard, like, especially for younger, like, more up-and-coming singer-songwriters in the industry. There is a flat rate and you do get mucked around purely because people don't take you seriously when you first start out, and that's normal. But if you treat it like it's serious, then people will take you serious. Like, if you say to them, this is it, bam, 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 you tell your booking agent they're your representative, they go tell those people don't muck around.
Yeah.
Because they can see that you're being serious about this.
Yeah, and you're a position.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way that it's going down and this is what needs to be done.
Exactly.
For me, I increased my prices maybe about 2.5 years ago. It's kind of funny because it all kind of stems back to that one night at home doing the masterclass, doing a session in a program, which was, the personal P&L, because I became consciously aware that if I set myself a goal of making $50,000 in my business every month, what that meant from a numbers point of view is that I needed to make $12,500 a week in order to achieve that goal, right? That was non-negotiable. So if you break down the days, at $12,500, you got 5 days to make that money in order to maintain that goal of $50,000. Now, for my first year of being consciously aware of that, sometimes I hit the 50 grand, sometimes more times than not, I didn't hit the 50 grand. And that's okay, right? But what I started to do was become consciously aware of what behaviours and tactics I needed to apply from a selling's point of view and from a product-based perspective every single day in order to achieve that. And so you would block out times in your calendar to hit that, to do the sales or to do the delivery of the work in order to reach Nadia at $50,000 at the end of the month, which is great. But I let go of intuition at that point about trying to do the right, just kind of the guessing game of pricing. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I think entrepreneurs have is and particularly Black women, we will base it on our gut.
Yeah.
Right? We will always be like, the ancestors will look after us, the ancestors will make it right for us, the spiritual gods will tell me which direction to go. They will. They'll let you know when it's a decision. Yeah. But I think I always used to get confused with that, right? Because I would spend so much time on the number, right? Whether or not, $1,500 felt right or $5,000 felt right in terms of an engagement with a client. It was never about, from an intuition perspective, it was never about the number. It was about a yes of doing the work or no, it wasn't, right? And so then when I started to, and I have to say that because I think a lot of people will say to you in business, particularly when you're starting out, does it feel right to you? Right? And feeling is always based upon your intuition. Yes. Most of the time, feeling, you don't apply an analytical process to determine whether or not something feels right, because we align our heart and our gut. That's it, right? Like, that's where we just kind of operate. So for me, I spent a lot of time deciding who I would work with, why I would work with someone, and if working with them was going to help me achieve my $50,000 a month target that I set for myself. And I have to say, consistently for this financial year of 2022 and 2023, I have hit that target and then some. In 2022, I doubled my income. In the 2021-2022 financial year, I doubled my income, and then I backed it up and did it again in this year because I consistently applied a methodology around my pricing. The other thing that I think is really important around pricing is saying no. Once again, we talk about those boundaries. You don't want to work for everybody. As a business owner, I have niched a market for myself, and I exclusively work with 2 or 3 industries. That's it. I can't work with everyone. I'm not effective at working with everyone.
You got to be realistic about it.
Got to be realistic. And to be honest, it's not about the industry, it's about the people culture that sits in an organisation for me, where there's value alignment, but also where there's money alignment. I'm not going to work for someone for 5 cents. I'm going to work with them for a minimum $50,000. If they want to partner with me, great. If they don't, that's not for me. So I think knowing who you are as an entrepreneur, the problem that you can solve for your clients, and also the value that you add to helping them solve that problem. I'll tell you some of the sales tactics that I use is that people will say to me, well, how much do you cost? And I will say to them, well, how much is the problem going to cost your company if you don't work with me?
And pretty much leaves neck minute. Oh, doesn't it?
Neck minute, right? Because then they're like, oh, actually, this isn't about, my work is impactful. I believe in the work that I do. I'm so passionate about it. I'm so committed to it. And I do exceptional work with my clients because I believe in the concept of reconciliation in this country. I believe in the framework. There are some things that can be improved, but it's always about the application. And so if I can build capacity as people in organizations to move past the transaction of reconciliation to being transformational leadership, that's the goal for me, right? And that costs money. That's an investment. That's not an expense. So I think about a formula. Think about tax, right? Tax is 10% GST. Then you've got operational costs that you've got to cover for your business, your rent, your phone bill, your electricity, your water, your petrol in your car. If you've got a lease, like there's all these other things that you've got to take into consideration, plus super, right? Plus, so you got, at a minimum, you're already, if you charge someone $1, you're already lost 30 cents of that on the dollar to the taxman, plus maybe another 15 cents to doing the operational cost of your business. So then you're left with 45 cents.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to think about how you stretch the dollar in your business. I don't want to be stretching every single dollar in my business. I want to be adequately charging for my services to run a business that is scalable, that makes money, that thrives, that just does not survive.
Yeah.
And I think that always comes down to how much you charge people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that needs to go into it. It just does
so much.
You can't wing it.
You can't wing it. Like, you can't just say, oh, like, yeah, maybe like 200, because then that makes you feel like, honestly, there was one time I was at this gig and I know, like, I was getting paid really good for it. The other artists, not so much so. And we had like a conversation and a yarn around the payments and stuff. And I said, like, why are you getting paid this much? And they're like, oh, that's just what we thought was good. And I was like, well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You can't think about, you have to plan, you have to be strategic, you have to be aware, you have to have these conversations. Also, having conversation
with each other.
I
can tell you how valuable that is, right? Someone actually rang me last week and asked me about a piece of work that we were both in the final two for, right?
Yeah.
The client came back and said to me, we went with the other company because they were cheaper, not because they were better, not because they met their needs in terms of, the quality of the product or the outcomes that they were achieving. It was never about that. By the way, that other company, exceptional at what they do, right? Like this client would have benefited so much working with either of us.
Yeah.
But the thing that they came back and said the reason that Naganya had lost that job was because of price and the other people were cheaper. That was their language, right? That was the language that they used, not something like this, was in alignment with our budget, or we thought there was a better investment over here than what there was with you. It was they were cheaper, right? So people are banking on you not having conversations about money because they want to keep us at this level. My hourly rate as a consultant is $500 an hour. If you want my time, it's $500. But no one else tells me as an Aboriginal consultant what their rate was, because there's this element of competition. But what we also need to recognise is that if we start talking about how much money we are charging and what our clients are investing, we don't have to disclose who our clients are.
Yeah.
It's really important that we share with each other what people are spending so we can actually raise the standard of what investment or what our industry is, right? Because if we don't have those conversations, you don't know whether or not someone's coming to you because you're the best, because you're right for them, or because you are the cheater.
Or sometimes because you're a Black woman and they're just being tokenistic.
That too.
I just need to tick the box. But we're not here to tick box.
But also, if they are going to tick that box, make sure you get that money for them to
make sure you get all that money from all corners.
I will just bill you all right now for wherever this goes or wherever this happens to go. just so you all know, I'm going to look straight down the camera at this one here as I'm reminded. I made $108,000 in National Reconciliation Week this year because I set the standard. That's all I got to say about that. Like speaking gigs, speaking gigs alone. So it is possible. It is possible for us to have six-figure
It's so possible.
wins.
Like, it is so possible. And it's not something that I feel like, we just automatically go into this limiting ourselves because of these past experiences and because of the history. But because we're not exposed to these conversations, we actually don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. But
It's okay. It's been okay for the past. It's not okay for us to. We can't move forward in a different way. I don't want to lose a lot of my identity. I don't want to lose a lot of who it is that I am and where it is that I come from. But I also know that I want to step into my future being a more evolved version of myself.
Yeah.
And that is confident. That is completely autonomous. Like I love the concept of self-determination, that I will back autonomy every single day of the week. I just gave a corporate $1 billion company across multiple countries in this world, right? They make billions of dollars in multiple continents. I just gave them back a $43,000 refund because I was like, you're not my client that I want to work with. I literally transferred $43,000 back to them.
and that's
As a small business, as a small business, that is wild. I never would have thought I would be able to do that. But I have the belief in myself that I will make that money back. And I will make that money back. So I'm going to make $1 million in 90 days.
going to happen. Watch out.
Foreign cars, I make rich look richer.